Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Run Selfie Repeat podcast, where we talk about life with the side of running. This is less of life with the side of running if you've listened to many of the other podcast episodes over the years where there are short weekly pep talks. This is Project 159, where I have been week by week kind of like breaking down my training as I chase down this huge, giant moonshot, seemingly insurmountable, kind of sort of impossible goal to try to qualify for the Boston Marathon. In order to qualify for the Boston Marathon for myself at my age group, I need to run a 3-hour, 30-minute marathon. Tragic. It was supposed to be 3:35, but they just changed the standard like weeks ago. Big sigh. I have tried for 3 years to qualify for the Boston Marathon. I took my marathon time from 4 hours, I should say sub 4, 3:59, because I fought like hell for that sub 4, down to, in my first try, 3:42. And then I got hurt my second try, so kind of a wash. And then my third try, then I spent the next like year and a half coming back from an injury. And then my next try, I did 3:37. So still off. And so I decided I wanted to try again because 3:35 was my new age group. And then they changed the standard like 2 weeks after I announced. So now we're back to 3:30, which is fine because the time really is irrelevant. It is all, I mean, it's not irrelevant. I'm not going to say it's irrelevant because it is relevant. And in order to qualify for the Boston Marathon, I need to run a 3:30 now, not the 3:35. But the journey from A to B is still the same. You do the work, you show up, you give your best, and your best is all you have, right? If it's enough to get into the Boston Marathon and BQ, great. If it's not, you're still going to walk away with a truly transformational, incredible, worthwhile training cycle, if that makes sense. I know it sounds like a cop-out, but it really isn't. Your personal best is your personal best, and it's all you have. And if you kind of live under those limiting self-beliefs of my best is not good enough, what are you doing? How are you getting through the day? I need to talk to your therapist, because if I lived like that, that's a red flag. That things would not be going well for me. So for this, me and my 34 personalities, we are framing this in 2 separate kind of chunks. The first is called Project 159, where I'm trying to break 2 hours in the half marathon. And then the second chunk is BQ or Bust, trying to then get down to that qualifying time. I'm doing it this way because outcome goals matter. Outcome goals, black and white, things you can check off of a list, running a half marathon, breaking 2 hours in a half marathon, right? That is a goal that gives me framework, that gives me a timeline, that gives me all of the check-ins and things that I need to work towards this goal. And then I have all the intrinsic motivators, right? My why, the weekly process goals, all of that delicious stuff, right? I'm not even kind of sort of thinking about qualifying for Boston. And I say that as someone who thinks about it all day long. So I don't know why I said that, because I do think about it. Especially right now on my runs, as we are in fall glow up, the fall running glow up is the best time of year. It is after suffering through months and months and months of hot ass, humid, horrible running weather. When you get all those physiological adaptations, it is the everyday person's steroids, kind of. It's legal performance enhancing drugs, heat acclimation, because you get all these physiological adaptations to help you survive running in the summer, and so that you're not just like dumping sweat and working overtime to try to be able to stay alive as you're running in really hot and humid days. When the weather cools, you have all those adaptations and you fly. Running feels so good because your body no longer needs to work as hard as it used to in order to stay cool. So you're able to use energy a little bit more efficiently, which is so much fun. So I'm really starting to feel both the effects of my training and the fall running glow up. So this week was a great week of training, a hard week of training, but a great week of training. So I say this because I've kind of been, a lot of my runs, putting them in the context of previous runs, especially on my long run this week, which we can talk about. I ended up running my long run alone. Normally I run with one of my best friends, but I just kind of wanted to be able to like put in a soundtrack and just like run. And I ran to Hadestown, which is a musical, a great musical. And I love Hadestown because it's about 2 hours, which was about my long run. And you can listen to it start to finish and just kind of like let your mind run wild. And I was thinking about the last time I remember doing this was right after I had seen Hadestown, and I was in Ohio. I was in Cincinnati visiting family. I literally just pulled it up on my phone, which ironically, how I remember it outcome wise is not what it was, which is interesting. Revisionist history, IRL. I remember how I felt, but I don't remember the actual paces. I thought I did a workout, and it wasn't a workout. It was just like a long run. And I was in Cincinnati, and I had gone to this little airport that I have done. I go there sometimes when I'm doing speed plane stuff like that, because it's like a really huge giant loop and it's relatively flat and protected. And this was April 2019. I had to like look up the dates. And I just remember like the original Broadway cast of Hadestown had not come out yet. So I was listening to this other recording of Hadestown that they had done, this like concept album, which they're both great in their own ways. They're very different style wise. I mean, not crazy different, but they do sound different. And I remember putting it on and just, I was in great shape. I was training for a half marathon in DC. So this was like a taper run. And because the race was like 1 or 2 weeks later. My cat is going crazy next to me. What are you doing, Phoebe? She's a crazy girl. She's like, play with me. But I had a taper run. So I'm like at the very tail end of this training cycle, this training block. And I remember April, crispy, delicious weather, sunny. And I went there and I put it on. I pressed play and I just kind of went off of effort and I flew. I ran really fast. I was holding like 8:15-minute miles. And then for the last 2 miles, I remember my heart rate was really low and just being like, let's just push it a little bit and see what this feels like. And I ended up like pulling out like 720s ish. It might have even been 715s. And my heart rate was like 162. And I was looking at the data and I was like, dang. While the paces are cool, what I remember is how I felt. And I just remember this ease, and I truly felt like I was flying, and it felt so strong. And I remember walking away from that being like, I'm gonna crush this half marathon. And then I fought for my life in that half marathon. Still ran very, very fast. Me and Jeannie did like 150, I think 152, something like that. Held that like 8:15 pace, but that was not ease. It was like fight for your life pace the whole way, like to the point where I yelled at me and Jeannie were just talking about this last weekend. I yelled at her during the race. Jeannie is one of the like pump you up kind of people where she's like, let's go, let's do it, woo, 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 woo. And I remember telling her to fuck off and to leave me alone. And she ended up running like the last 4 miles right in front of me. And she stayed with me because she's a good person, but I did yell at her and I was like, go away. I don't have anything else. There are no more gears. I'm fighting for my life back here. And that's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes, race day, you just don't feel great. And I'm definitely thinking about that a lot based on where I'm going to be hormone phase wise. And that is something that is definitely in my head, but I'm not worrying about it just yet. But anyways, that's the last time I remember running Hadestown cover to cover. And that's one of my favorite things to do to like pass the time of a long run is listen to, I do it with a musical because I love musical theater, and just listen to the entire album all the way through, because I have playlists of like my favorite musical music that are hours long, but there is something to be said for like listening to the entire album and listening to songs that you don't listen to often. That, an album tells a story, and it worked in my favor this weekend. We'll talk about it in a second, but that was fun. But the whole time I do remember thinking like, dang, I feel like I'm running 8-minute miles right now. And I'm actually running like 10:30s. Same exact feeling. Isn't that crazy? The effort, man. Conversational pace is conversational pace, regardless of where your fitness is at and what you're capable of. So crazy. All right, let's talk scheduling first. So week 6, we just wrapped week 6. So we are officially halfway through half marathon training. It's really easy to, and this is kind of how I run as well. Like if, let's say I was trying to run 13 or 12 miles, because 12 weeks in a training cycle for this training cycle, right? One of the things that I would do is I probably would lump the first 10K. And so when I got to 6, I would no longer be great. Now we're running a second 10K. It's more like, great, now we're running 2 miles. And then when I got to 8, I'd be like, great, now we're running 2 miles. Great, now I have a 5K. But I'm not running a 5K, I'm running 1 mile. And now I'm running half of a mile. And now I'm running half of a mile. Now I'm running 400, 400, 400. So you're like weirdly chunking it in these blocks. So even though we are halfway there, I'm thinking of it more like, it feels more like 75% there, which I know doesn't make any sense, but that's just how it feels. So that's like such a weird perception of like, I feel like there's no time. And I think the reason I'm feeling that is in 2 weeks, I do my 10K time trial. We're doing a 10K, me, Jeannie, and Melissa. This time it's a real we. The 3 of us are doing the Sleepy Hollow 10K, and that's kind of going to be a time trial for me. I really want to see where I'm at and if I can execute a really smart and hard race day strategy. And so I think in my head, I'm more thinking races in 2 weeks, because after that, the race is in a month. So technically there's still 6 weeks of training left, but in my head, I'm thinking 2 weeks and then 4 weeks. But really, I'm not even thinking that. I'm thinking 2 weeks and then 2 more weeks of training and then 2 weeks of taper. So I know that sounds so complicated and convoluted, but it is. That is how running works. It's just a convoluted mess. All right, let's talk about my schedule for this week. All right, so I had intended Monday to be a cycling day, a cross training day, and a strength training day. I ended up doing an hour-long ride and then 30 minutes of strength, so exactly what I'd set out to do. Tuesday, I had 2 by 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 at interval pace with 2 minutes of recovery. That means I go 5 minutes at interval pace, 2 minutes of recovery, 4 minutes at interval pace, 2 minutes of recovery, 3 minutes at interval pace, 2 minutes recovery, 1 minute at interval pace, 2 minutes of recovery. What I ended up doing is 2 by 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but I did 2 minutes of recovery for 5 minutes and 4 minutes. And then I did 90 seconds for 3, 2, 1. And then I did a 3-minute recovery before I started 5-4 with those 2-minute recoveries, and then 3-2-1 with the 90 seconds recovery. So a little bit shorter recovery for the shorter reps, but I kept the 2 minutes for the 5 and the 4. So good. We'll talk about that in a second. Wednesday, I had planned to do strength and cycling. I had started doing strength work on Wednesday for like 10 minutes and was like, my form is shitty. I'm not in it. I don't want to do this. So I took a rest day. I was like, my body is telling me to rest. So I rested, and mostly my mind. My mind was like, absolutely not, girl. So I rested. Thursday, I had planned for 3 by 15 minutes at threshold pace with 3 minutes of recovery, or 60 minutes at conversational pace. I felt good, so I did 3 by 15 minutes at threshold pace with 3 minutes of recovery. Friday, I had planned on a rest day. I ended up doing my 30 minutes of strength work, and then I introduced officially my 5th running day, so I did a 20-minute run. Saturday, I had planned on doing 50 to 60 minutes, and I ended up doing my long run of 2 hours. And then today, Sunday, I had planned to do my long run, but I ended up doing 55 minutes with my best friend, Melissa. All right. One of the first things that I switched last week is my weights. So my strength work will continue through week 10, but my weights are no longer heavy. When I'm lifting, I'm not lifting heavy anymore. They're light and medium weights. My intensity is coming from running. It is no longer coming from strength. I've been lifting heavy for the last April, May, June, July, August, September. So the last like 6 months I've been getting ready for this. So it's not like I did 6 weeks of lifting heavy and now I'm not going to lift. Although if you're doing a 12-week cycle, this is about the time where you're no longer pushing your strength workouts. Your strength workouts are maintenance, and you're still getting gains in your strength workout, but it's much more flexibility, mobility, stability, and then a little bit of strength than it is those 4 components equally. So my weights are back to light and medium because I'm running a lot higher mileage than I'm used to and a lot higher intensity than I'm used to. And now it's about the running. It's not about the strength anymore. Drills, I'm so happy to report that I am really starting to feel a knee drive. I'm sure if you videotaped me, you would be like, what knee drive, bitch? But I feel it, I swear. One of the things about drills is They're hard to do because you feel like such an idiot out in the wild doing them. I know for me, it takes me about 2 months to like stop caring and self-objectifying myself and thinking, what are people thinking about me? And now I just think when people see me, I'm like, I bet they're like, I need to do my drills. Ugh, jealous. Because they're so quick and they're so easy. They literally take 3 minutes. They're the simplest thing that you can do. And it's one of those learn by doing things. You're not going to understand what you're doing until you do it. You have to figure out how your body feels in space to learn how to do drills. You can watch YouTube videos and then go try to execute. But until you just practice, it's not going to make much sense. But the best part about drills is it really does help your form and your energy. And I really feel like my gait is coming back in a really strong way, and I'm feeling stronger, and I'm just so happy I've been doing my drills. Yeah, those are kind of like the two big things. I've been foam rolling my tits off, which like go me. Everybody should celebrate the fact that I'm so great. I hate foam rolling. I never foam roll. So I've been very good about, at least on my strength training days, I don't start strength until I foam roll. Normally I set the rule that you don't get to run unless you strength train, but like I'm not doing that this time around. I'm doing it for sure on my strength training days, and then I'm normally doing it on my rest day as well. So I've been like really on top of my foam rolling, and I feel it. Normally my calves are tight as bricks, and they're not. I touch them and they feel like raw meat, that's how they're supposed to feel. I was telling someone on a coaching call, grab your palm and then touch like the supple part of your palm. This is how your muscles should feel. Soft. If you touch your calves and they're like hard as bricks, not good. Not good. You need to be voodoo banding those calves. You need to be stretching those calves, working on your mobility and flexibility. You need to be foam rolling them, or you need to go find someone to massage them for a couple of weeks to really get them to loosen up, because that's how you get hurt. That's how you get hurt, honey. And I say that as someone who normally has very, very tight calves. You can't just put compression socks on and hope for the best. So yeah, things are going well. Yay. I feel scared to say that out loud. Like I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. Talk about a trauma response. But shit will happen. I'm sure not every week's going to be great, but this week was great, and I'm really, really happy about it. So let's talk a little bit about speed work this week. So the first workout, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is one of my favorite workouts. If you've ever done a running plan with me, the note is always 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 of my favorite workouts. I think that every time I say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is a ladder. So I ended up, like I had said, changing the recovery a little bit. Going into it, I can't remember what pace I wanted to hold, but I think I was hoping for like 8:05 to 8:10, maybe 8:15. I probably should have watched my recaps before we did this. So if I'm misspeaking, forgive me. But so the point of interval pace, right? This is kind of like my second week with interval pace being introduced into my training this time around. Interval pace is like your VO2 max intervals. And that doesn't mean the second you start running, you hit your VO2 max. It takes like 90 seconds to get up to your VO2 max, to get your heart rate up to that place. So that's one of the reasons why when you're doing interval pace, 3 minutes and longer tend to be the most bang for your buck and the most you get the most out of them. But that doesn't mean that you can't do shorter repeats. For me, last week was 400-meter repeats, which was much less than 3 minutes. And then this week was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where we had 3, 2, and 1, shorter than what is quote unquote most effective. But we're working our way up to what next week's workout is, which is 800-meter repeats. Like I could just throw longer reps at interval pace in, and I would have probably been fine because I have a really strong aerobic system, and I have a really solid base, and I could handle that mileage. But it's so much better for your confidence and for you as a runner to slowly work your way up in terms of how far and how intense you're running. And you have like prior things to call upon, right? 5 minutes freaked me out a little bit. I was definitely really nervous about running 5-minute intervals. And then when the 5 was behind me, it's like, oh, thank God the longest one's behind me. But then you got to 4 and you're like, oh my God, 4 is so long. It's like double what I was doing last week. So you're like, it's okay. This is hard. This is scary, but like just get through it and then it's behind you. So one of the things that I do when I'm doing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, normally for most, if you're doing my plans, you're not going to see 2 by 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or 2 by 6 by 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You'll normally just see 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's only really in the marathon plans or maybe a level 3 or 4 plan that you'll see 2 by. So I always really, I don't think about the fact that I'm doing 2. I think about I'm just doing 1, right? So I'm like, once the 5's over, it's like, whoo, done with the 5. 4. Let's do the 4. The 4 is just 2 2s. So just do the 2 2s. And it's like, great, that's done. Great. 3. That's, I got this. Like hard, but I can do this. You get the 3 and you're like, perfect. And you're like, 2, that's going to fly. Get through the 2. And then you're like, great, just 1 minute. That's nothing. I can do anything for a minute, right? Like that's kind of how I get through them. And then I focus on the rest and then we do it over again. I pretend that this is my first interval again. Like I don't worry about the fact that we just did 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, put it out of my head and I'm just starting over. So, like I said, the pace goal was hopefully to, 8:05 to 8:15. So my first 5-minute rep was 8:09 pace, which is good. Feels good. It felt hard. It did not feel hard, actually. It felt really easy, which was a little like, my 4-minute interval was an 8-minute pace. My 3-minute interval was an 8:09. My 2-minute interval was a 7:56. And then the 1-minute interval was 7:35. So that 2 and that 1 were too fast, which isn't good. Sometimes you think, we'll run as hard as you can, but that's not the goal of the workout. The goal of the workout is to execute the right effort level. And I don't know if I just got excited or I was trying to go off of effort level and like couldn't lock into interval. I was just pushing a little too hard towards repetition pace. So I was like, okay, don't sweat it. But that's not the goal of this workout, to go that fast. And that's not sustainable. So let's bring it back. And so my next 5-minute interval was 8:02, which yes. 4 minutes, 8:06. Yes. 3 minutes was hard. The last minute of that 3-minute rep, I was like, oh shit. This is really hard. 8:12. So I fell significantly off pace. Again, not terrible, but like not in the consistency that I wanted to be seeing between that 8:05 and 8:10. 2 minutes was 7:58. So way back on it. 1 minute was 8:30. So way off, but I was in traffic and kind of like, I wasn't really able to just like fly. I was like, ugh. But it was hard. This was a really challenging, hard workout. I think the thing that's kind of throwing me is my warm-ups and my cool downs are really far and they're adding to mileage in a way that I'm not thrilled about, especially this week because my mileage jumped a lot this week. So that workout ended up being like 7.42 miles, which is like 12K. So these 2 workouts were pretty far. My second speed play session was a redo of that 3 by 15 minutes at threshold pace. So definitely was nervous going into it because last week was so challenging and I really had to fight to do it. And I really struggled going up the hill in my last interval. So this time around, my thought going into it was I was going to stay on the lower loop and not touch that hill. So I did similar. The first rep was the same route that I had gone the week prior, but then I decided I was going to go counterclockwise along the bottom of the lake, go up half the hill on the backside, and then cut down Center Drive because it's a downhill. So even though I would have like I think it's probably like 400 or 600 meter uphill, I would then have a half of a mile downhill to like get like, instead of, I don't want to think of it like catching my breath because that's not exactly what I was doing because I was pushing pace, but catch my confidence to get back to cruise, to trust it. And so, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My headphones died. My headphones died right as I was finishing my warm up. And like, you know how they do the boom, 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 boom. And then it was like battery low. And I was like, fuck, no, why? And so I was like, okay, pulled up my Find My to see if my sister was home because I was doing my workout next to her house and she was in frickin' East Village or West Village or something. And I was like, damn it, she's not home. And then I was like, do I call my cousins and see if they have headphones? But then I was like, you know what? This is fine. Just do it without music. And it was fine. I was strong, but damn, do I wish I had my music. It's just more fun with music. Like music is something I really look forward to when I run. And I find it so obnoxious when people are like, oh, you should run without music. It's such a better experience. And it's like, that's so wonderful that that's how you like it, but buzz off. I love my music. I don't drive a car. I don't get to listen to music. Running is when I get to listen to my music, or cleaning, right? One is significantly better than the other, although I do like a deep clean. It is deeply relaxing for me to deep clean, especially when I should be doing something else. That is when cleaning is the most delicious. But anyways, yeah, my music died. And so I was very proud of myself that I was able to like be as present and whatever. Like, but that's the mental work. That's all the work we do with the Badass Lady Gang. Like, could not woot woot myself enough. And yay, the work is showing up. Mental work works. But back to 3 by 543. Oh my God. 3 by 15 minutes at threshold pace. So, my first one, I genuinely felt like I had to pull myself back the entire time to be like, whoa, too fast. And I felt like I was jogging. So that was cool because my pace was 8:53. Perfect. Oh no, where'd the last bit of it go? Hold on. Now I have to pull it up. Hold on, because it didn't paste the whole thing. Okay, my first rep was 8-minute 45 pace, which bingo. That's what I want to see. And then the second one was 8:53 pace, still fast. And I felt so strong ripping up that hill. Mentally, I was really, really strong. I felt really good about it. Ugh, someone fucking put me on a Donald Trump like text message fundraise thing. And I'm so angry about it. I get so many text messages from that piece of shit. And all I do is opt out and unsubscribe and report spam. But they text me all day long. I'm putting my fucking watch on. Oh, God. I hate him so much. What a piece of shit. I'll say it out loud. He's terrible. I hope everybody has a plan to vote. Do you have a plan to vote? Because this is bad. This guy is bad news bears. Bad. And I wish him I hope he has the day he deserves every day for the rest of his life. I hope. Yeah. Ugh. Okay. Back to my last rep. Speaking of being able to stay strong in the face of adversity, my last rep, I ended up exactly where I was despite going the other way the week prior. And I was like, shit, do I just like redo that? Or do I go to the top of the hill and face my fear with the hill? And here's the thing. Hills make you stronger. And the Philly Half Marathon, which is the race that I am training for, is a hilly race. It finishes on a big ass giant evil hill. And so I kind of am constantly saying in my head, hey, you can't avoid hills. You need to run your hills, and we need to run strong up the hills. So it was like, just give it a go. Just give it a go. We're definitely not going to do the route that we did last week with like the off-roading and stuff like that. And I was like, it's fine. I'll just keep going along the top. So sure enough, strong up the hill, very difficult. The last bit of the hill was very hard, but I like took a minute after I got to the top to catch my breath. Right. I didn't slow down, but I did focus on like really just like taking strong breaths. And then I just cruised. And I was way off pace. I think when I got to the top, my average pace was like 9:25. And I was like, great, I now have 8 minutes to see if I can't bring that down to an average of a 9 pace, right? Because the thing about hills is it's all about effort level. If you keep the effort level going up, you're going to be off pace. You're going to be slower. But if you push the downs and you focus on effort, right, everything evens out. So I was like, just focus on the effort and try to bring that down. And I was able to. That ended up being a 9-minute 4 average pace, which is like, I'm really happy about it. And they're really consistent, right? The first one I did 1.71 miles. The second one I did 1.69 miles. And the third one I did 1.65. So really close, super consistent. So such night and day from the week prior. That workout was harrowing. And I noted this in the video. I think the difference between 2 weeks ago and this week was 2 weeks ago, the first time I did 3 by 15 minutes at threshold, I really felt like I was fighting to stay in the fight and stay with it. And I was still off, but I really felt like I had to fight to do what I did. Whereas this time I felt like I just had to work really hard to do it. The work working and fighting feel like two different things. I didn't need to fight. And listen, a week is not enough for that significant amount of fitness to show up. So it really is a mental thing. I really worked on staying really present and being in it and just like keeping my mind as neutral as possible. And I really worked on my mental game and pulling for the tools and making a plan and visualizing before the race. So all the things that we work on when you train with Badass Lady Gang. And ooh, she did great. I feel so proud of myself. I'm so happy with how that 3x15 went. It was so hard. That last rep was so hard, but I was really proud of how it turned out. So yay, yay, yay. Really exciting. And then the long run. Yeah, I originally planned on doing it today because I thought it was going to be crazy hot yesterday, and it definitely was warmer than it was today, but that's okay. It went really well. It went really, really well. I was really good about doing my hyperhydrating the night before. So that means having a bottle of sports drink with dinner. I'm really trying to figure out my fueling. So this was like my first kind of like crash course in seeing if what I do works. So making sure my hydration is on, all that stuff. I ended up trying, I wanted to do it solo because I wanted to listen to Hadestown. And I also wanted to like not stop and just fly through it and see how it felt and work on my fueling. So one weird thing that happened was, I like Martin gels. So what I've been using is Scratch High Carb Drink Mix. You can Scratch Chews, and then I'm going to use Martin caffeine gels. And so I had Martin caffeine gels. I didn't have UCAN, which is fine. I'm all out, so I need to get more. But I was like, I'll use Scratch High Carb Energy Chews, and then with 30 minutes to go, I will take that Martin caffeine. And so I had a little bit of like weird GI-ness, but not enough that made me like, oh my God, we need to find a bathroom, but just a little like, oh, what's that? And the thing about running is you have to train your gut. You can't just like do something once and be like, that didn't work. It's small additions in upping your how much carbs can you get in and what works and what feels good. So it's like constantly trying and tweaking so that you're training your gut to be able to handle all of the carbohydrates that you're putting into it. So that's why we're practicing now, because I have really like 1 month left of really dialing this in. So everything was fine. One of the reasons we use chews is chewing. I'm chewing right now as I'm demonstrating. Chewing releases hormones that help with digestion. So when you're taking energy gels, you're not getting that release of hormones that help with digestion. So a quick little reminder and a trick is, even if you're taking gels, like chew. Trick your brain to think like food is coming. So that's one of the reasons chews are a pro. They're just harder to get down when you're running at an effort. But when I got to the place where there was like 30 or 40 minutes left, I was like, okay, I'm going to take my Martin. I'm starting to fade. And I couldn't find it. I literally pulled over and took off this new vest that I was trying out because I couldn't. One, the vest is like a little too tight to access the pockets easily. And so I thought maybe I just like couldn't reach it, but it wasn't even there. It wasn't in any of my pockets. I pulled everything out and I was like, where the F did this gel go? Did it fall out? And I think it fell out because my straw, I had nowhere to put my straw, which normally I just tuck it into one of the front pockets on my vest. But because that vest is too large, I was trying this new one and I didn't have anywhere to put it. So it kept like, it landed really weird. So I'm curious if when I was trying to figure out where to put my straw, if it fell out, because it's not in my house anywhere, like in case I like forgot to put it in a pocket. So that tells me that like maybe I yanked it out and dropped it, which is annoying because those are expensive. So that's a bummer. So anyway, next week I'll try again. Also my hydration drink, I had a little flub. So when I freeze half my bladder, I run really, really hot. So, one, I can't believe I used to run as many years as I did without a hydration vest, because I have to drink a lot of water because I'm an incredibly sweaty person. And I don't know how I was performing the way I performed that underhydrated. And, yeah, I'll drink my entire bladder in 1 2-hour run and like still be a little dehydrated. So normally I will freeze the bottom and then I'll put my hydration drink in and then I'll I'll fill up the rest. And I was just like really tired on Saturday and I wasn't really thinking clearly. And I was trying to like massage the giant ice cube away from the straw. And I just didn't close it all the way. And a lot of it fell out. And so I was like, oh dear. So I was like, whoopsie poopsie. I will not worry about that. And so I like filled it back up, tasted it, and it still tasted kind of sweet. And so I was like, okay, I'll just take salt chews with me. Those like salt stick chews, which are really delicious. And that I'll just supplement with those. But I didn't have an idea of how much hydration drink I was getting. I knew how much fluid I was getting, but not how much electrolytes. So I'm curious if that also played into a little piece of it. But otherwise, I felt really good. It was a little warm. It wasn't so warm that it felt hot, but it was like a little too warm to fly the way that I would have liked. And it also felt a little humid. I was so sweaty. But the last 5K of that 2-hour run was hard. My hips felt really tired, which was, equally surprising because I do so much strength work, but also not surprising because this is the point of the long run, is to really build strength and courage and confidence, and to build strength. Did I already say that? Doesn't matter. And I started to fade. So I had enough fuel on me. I was able to take chews instead of that Martin. But yeah, something I'm really, really focusing on this go around is form. So thinking about like snappiness. So instead of shuffling, like really focusing on running snappy and quicker turnover. So there was also a point where my back just hurt. Like the pro of carrying a hydration vest is you have a lot of hydration on you, that you stay hydrated. But the con is like, if you have big boobs, it's like more weight on your shoulders, which can be annoying. So there was a moment where I was like, I need a friggin' massage. My shoulders hurt so bad from my giant boobs and sports bras. So yeah, the long run went great. And then today I did 55 minutes with Melissa because today was her longest long run for the New York City Marathon. So I jumped in with her in the middle. I was on the fence about whether I was going to do like 40 minutes or possibly try to get to 60 minutes because I knew going into this that my mileage was going to be a little high for the week. I ran about 21% more than I have been this week than the prior weeks, which I think is because of my warm-ups and cool downs in those speed play sessions compared to what has happened the last 3 weeks, and the addition of that 5th running day, which it shouldn't have been that much. So I was kind of like, I need to keep my eyes on that because that's not a sustainable jump. 21%, if I were to jump 21% in my mileage every single week, or even just like the amount of time that I'm running every single week, like that's not a healthy jump. 10 to 15% is about what is sustainable for most athletes. But based on how I'm feeling and I'm guessing where I am in my cycle, that's why I could handle it. So I just need to make sure that I'm not doing that again next week, that like we're back to that 10% range, or just staying steady. I'm okay hitting this mileage again next week. But I feel good about that 5th running day. I'm going to keep it unless I'm having a tough week. Yeah, that's exciting. Next week. Oh, I didn't pull questions. I'm realizing I didn't pull questions. Oh, well. Next week, week 7. Here's my plan. Monday, cycling and strength work. Tuesday, 6 by 800 meters at interval pace with 2 minutes of recovery. Is how I feel about that workout. 800-meter repeats are so scary. Oh, boy. I can do it. I'm a big, brave girl. I think I need to go to the track. So I think I'm going to make myself go to the track. I've never gone to McCarran. So maybe I'll go to McCarran. I don't know. I'm going to try really hard to go to the track. Wednesday, strength and a 30-minute run. Thursday, 2 by 2 miles at threshold pace with 3 minutes of recovery. Scary hard. Oh my God. Friday, rest day. Saturday, long run. We're staying at 2 hours, although I'm going to give myself the opportunity to drop down to like an hour 40 if I need to. and then Sunday 60-minute run. So we're going to see what happens. This week has kind of, I mean, not even this week, this training cycle has really, really, really helped me like realize that one of the biggest things I've learned over the last 3-4 years of how I've been running a few training experiences that I've done with the Badass Lady Gang. Like, I know I've been doing, at the beginning of the year, I like to do the fastest way to get faster training experience where we work on speed. And then here and there doing other things. But for the most part, I've really just been moving how I want to, when I want to, because I want to, and in a way that is a sustainable build, but a very loose framework. I've gotten really good at listening to my body, really, really good at listening to my body and trusting my body and like cueing into the cues. And one of the things that's so lovely this time around is, one, I have the wherewithal of knowing how things work as a coach, but also I really trust that how I feel is accurate, and it's less about the paces and more about the efforts and the effort levels, which I know we say as coaches all the time, effort level is what matters. But when you can like bridge the effort level feels like this and pace was supposed to be this, and see how that works, that's really cool. So that's been really fun for me to like kind of execute differently and trust that effort level is more important than pace. I don't think I've ever trusted that the way I have this time around. I know cognitively that that's how that works, but like it's hard to override but I'm supposed to be running this. And even still, like when I had said, you know, like all I do is think about qualifying for Boston, like it is true. Like I just think about how fast I have to run, or when my threshold pace is my old conversational pace. Like there's not a single day I do threshold pace where a little bit of me is like, this is so crazy that this is my old conversational pace, you know, and that I have to work this hard to run my old conversational pace. And then I have to be like, hey, what? We're just not there. And we don't want to be there. Do you remember how unwell you were when you were there? And that doesn't mean that if I go back there that I'll be unwell, but I'm doing it very differently. Like I'm so intentional about my training this go around, and I'm in such a great headspace, and I trust the process. I was talking with Coach Amanda last week, and I've said this to a couple of my athletes too, because a lot of people are in that like injury, walking on a tightrope. You know, like a lot of my marathoners are, you know, some of them are injured and some of them want to get back to it as fast as possible, and they're, you know, not listening to me, which is fine. As a coach, the one thing you have to accept and try not to take personally is when people don't listen to you. As a runner, you can go back and watch BQ or Bust when I did not listen to any of my coaches a lot. And it's insecurity, right? You don't understand how things work. And you think you have to prove if I do X, Y, and Z, or if I do these things, that it'll be easier for me to believe I can do it, when really all you're doing is putting yourself at risk for an injury higher and higher. Runners, we are so dumb. We are just insecure silly gooses, and I was terrible. I'm definitely like still not the best, but like much better than I used to be. But it's hard. I know it's hard. I still get in my head, but I feel really good about the tools that are available. And I feel really good about the journaling, and I feel really good about doing all my mental work. And I know it shows up. Like I see the work every single week. That being said, we're kind of finalizing our 2025 training experience calendar right now. If you want to learn more about how to train with us, like reach out to me. I'm more than happy to hop on a call with you if you're thinking about one-on-one coaching or the team. Shoot me an email. I'll talk to you about training experiences. The team gets access to multiple coaching calls every single week, plus all the training experiences. So if you're looking for more options of coaching calls, check out the team. If you are, and it's also like, if you think you're going to do 2 training experiences in a year, join the team annually. You're going to save more money that way. But otherwise, the training experiences, you get access to 1 coaching call, and you really do get out of it what you put into it. So if you don't think you can come to the coaching calls, or you are not the type of person who's going to watch the coaching calls back, I really don't recommend doing a training experience. Just get a running plan from me, or you can do it, but just be on top of emailing with me. And because customizing the plans is the whole point of the training experiences, though I will be the first to say I would much rather customize on a call than over email, because I normally have so many follow-up questions and I want to talk to you about things, and I can't get into it in email the way that I could on a coaching call. So, I mean, I always say just join the team. I know it's expensive, right? It's not free, but you will get such a fuller experience, and yeah, you'll just get so many resources that runners don't have access to. So highly recommend joining the team. Highly recommend checking it out with a training experience. With all the training experiences we offer legacy rate. So if you try training experience and decide you want to join the team, you shoot us an email, we refund your training experience, and then we give you access to the team at a cheaper rate. It's our legacy rate, so that when you renew, you get access to the legacy rate. But otherwise, it's a lot of fun. Training with us is a lot of fun, but most importantly, my biggest goal is that my athletes walk away with things that they will take with them and use for the rest of their lives, that they will be more well-rounded and smarter and more flexible athletes. Not flexible, I can lift my leg over my head, but flexible, I understand nuance and how to listen to my body and how to give my best and be okay with my best not being everything that I wanted to do. Does that make sense? Come train with us. We're about to run our biggest sale of the year. It's our only time the team goes on sale is around this time of year, Black Friday-ish. So keep your eyes peeled for that. There's some exciting things that are about to drop. But otherwise, that's everything I have. You can learn more about how to train with us below in the link in my bio. If you have any questions, you can always go on social media. Although emailing is probably better, because you just heard I forgot to pull questions. But yeah, that's all for now. Welcome to week 7. That's so crazy. Week 7. Time flies when you're having fun. And I think I am having fun this week, but I'm going to go foam roll because my hips are tight. Kick ass. Take names. That's a wrap on week 6. Bye, everybody.